2023 was a terrible time to be in the entertainment industry, largely because they kept making terrible entertainment. It got so bad even the mainstream media couldn't deny it anymore. Why box office sales have been disappointing, and they're going to get worse next year. Articles about the top 10 flops of 2023, because there's been far more than 10 of them, and how, in Disney's 100th year, their entertainment division flopped. So as we head into 2024, join me as we look back with fond memories at the disasters that we suffered through. Then what better way to start than as the year did? With Velma.
My name is Velma Dinkley, and this is my origin story.
Velma is unironically the most hateful show that I've seen.
Normally, origin stories are about tall, handsome guys struggling with the burden of being handed even more power.
And I watched Robyn Hood, where the only thing the villain did wrong was have money. No, Velma started as it meant to go on.
And how do you feel about race-blind casting, Daphne?
And it was the most rapid-fire pile of dross you've ever seen. You are one gross human being. Every other line was some bigoted, spiteful mess.
Why wouldn't he? If I were a rich white dude, I'd kill everybody just to get away with it.
It was clearly written by someone with a chip on their shoulder, and they wanted you to know it.
No wonder men are so desperate to hold onto their power. This is the easiest ever. As a guy, I can do anything.
But even from announcement, it was obvious that Velma was going to be a disaster. We just didn't quite know how much. Even when you're looking at Velma herself, you can see that this Velma isn't anything like the classic. It's just rather surprising who she could have been. I mean, I have no idea. Definitely not a self-insert, folks.
As a man speaking authoritatively, you are going to listen to me and you are going to believe me.
Interesting thing with self-inserts, it doesn't come across like you've just made him look like you. You also assume that what the character is saying, you agree with.
Wait a second. As a guy, everyone thinks my worst qualities as a girl are awesome. Well, I got a squirt.
Oh my god, and you're hilarious.
So as you go through the series and it becomes very clear that you have absolutely no idea about men.
Are you suggesting I am a woman dressed as a man? No tap!
There's a whole episode where Velma dresses up as a bloke.
There's something funny about you. Not LOL funny.
And then we just live in a parallel fantasy land that has only ever existed in Mindy Kaling's face.
But more thoughtful and well observed, like a female-driven comedy.
There's literally a scene where Velma is so adored by one of the gang that he goes to sell his own kidney for her.
Whenever a girl needs money, guy sells something and then blackmails the girl into dating him for it.
That character also changed the way he looked, became a bit of a problem, actually.
Velma, there you are.
Norville?
You didn't answer my VMs. Voicemails. But I had to find you because I still don't know if you listened to my VMs. Voicemails.
When the original character enjoyed inhaling things that gave him a bit of the munchies, suddenly when you change how he looks, well, now you've got a bit of a problem. You get into the, why did you think the guy with the munchies needs to look like that kind of problem?
I'd punch you if men didn't sexualize women fighting.
Velma is a show that started off awful, but hit a crescendo by the end that I don't think anyone saw coming.
I was reminded that hot, popular girls your age don't yet realize how much the deck is stacked against them.
The entire plot is based around how Velma can become some kind of superhuman.
Not only are you brilliant, who more than you would appreciate the advantages of being a handsome, rich white man?
Because she struggles so much in the way that she looks.
Advantages? You think we like being president of the United States?
The system has been arrayed against her.
I am so sick of rich guys like you, not only not realizing how much is handed to them,
but if she can change bodies into Freds, then not only will she be able to understand the problems and struggles that she's gone through her entire life,
but still thinking they're the victims when they mess everything up.
But also be able to take advantage in a Machiavellian way of the way Fred looks and his inherent advantages to rule the earth.
Because of their lazy entitlement and fragile egos.
My ego is not fragile!
But the writers are scum. Oh, and after that, she shakes her ass while covered in gore over the corpse of Fred's mum in front of him. I can't even show you the scene on this platform.
You got a sharp brain.
That actually means a lot.
Almost like a man.
Don't worry, Velma, if you marry one, you can take credit for all of his accomplishments, like Fred's mum did. It's a comedy that never makes anybody laugh. If there is anyone that can make an argument that some people just have their sense of humor surgically removed, it's Mindy Kaling. This wasn't a comedy, this was a political lecture.
My hallucinations preyed on my insecurity that I'm a weirdo no one would believe.
But you are a weirdo that no one will believe. And the rumors are it's gonna get a season 2. Running at the same time as this was Willow.
Willow's back.
Willow is getting deleted from Disney+, except it had a cunning twist. It wasn't about Willow. No, instead, Willow had been replaced by a brave new blonde without dangly bits.
Taken me a long time to figure out who I am.
could you stop heavy breathing, please? It's really distracting. Or rather, as it seemed most of the time, her supposed bodyguard.
I don't want to hurt you.
You can't hurt me.
Maybe not physically, dude, but mentally, do not underestimate her power. Running through the show was various different predictable romances.
I know what you're doing. Whew, sounds pretty frustrating. Yeah, superior in every way.
I say that, I'm pretty sure one guy banged a fish. Very attached.
I shall name you Kenneth. I think I just want to be alone with him for a little while.
But this is a Disney show, if anything, that is predictable. It's even closing its eyes as it does it, alongside the fact that in this show there was absolutely nothing that could pass as a man.
I think you should stick to chasing girls,
I mean, just look at how they dressed up the prince.
rather than sticking your nose in matters that you're incapable of understanding and are not your concern.
Flamboyant isn't the word.
What do we suppose she means by presentable?
Not covered in dirt and grass.
Even when it came to the final battle of the series, sure, there were blokes in the party at that time, they just all conveniently had something else to do at the moment of the final battle, and so they could be shifted off into side rooms and hidden away. Yeet! Also, the actual important stuff could be handled by the ladies.
She's too strong!
She's not as strong as you are.
Because they know how to handle it.
Dad, I'm not you.
All right, you're not. You're better.
For me, though, I really enjoyed Willow because it was so bad, it was funny.
You're gonna be a great night.
I bet you say that to all the ladies. Because they didn't pay attention to anything. Like at one point, a spell will blow up a door.
Avagadoo.
And yet in a different episode, she'll use the same spell for an entirely different purpose.
Stop shaking. Avagadoo.
Why, when you were causing a mountain of lava to erupt, did you try to explode it over your friends? Or how about how we turn people to the dark side by imbibing a certain liquid which is produced throughout the series?
A mother gives birth. Her body makes milk for the child.
Stop, please stop.
In the finale, you find out where this liquid comes from. The evil worm.
It's nourishment. It's the part of himself that he gives to us.
And if anyone predicted that was worm reproductive fluid, you're a liar. But Willow was also accompanied by my favourite piece of entertainment in 2023, and that was the behind the scenes.
Pretty passionate.
The making of Willow.
Seems to be like actively sabotaging her call sheet.
Where is she, actually? Where's Ellen?
No idea.
I did a whole video on it, and it's gold.
We got some great ones of me though, didn't we? Well, this is Willow after all, so that's all you need.
You know, the sad thing is, that should really be true. The entire thing is one big spoof, although you can't help thinking it has an element of truth to it. They play up Warwick Davis like he's power mad, but also that he's really annoyed.
We were most excited about continuing the story of Elora Danan.
He was the primary star of the movie, and now he's getting replaced by some random blonde.
Sat down with Warwick and told him that Elora Danan would finally be in this story, and his response immediately was, why?
It's supposed to be funny because you're like, we're all playing this up. But really, there's an element of truth to it, as there is in any good joke.
How do you know where to go?
I was born here.
You're supposed to be a sorceress, not a GPS. Doesn't he have every right to be annoyed that he's being replaced? And why is the main character being replaced in the first place?
I genuinely actually think Warwick is a bit intimidated by Ellie.
I think maybe at one point he got the idea that I wanted to call the show Elora Danan.
When you watch Willow, don't you watch it for Willow?
Willow Lovegood here is terrified that one day he'll be discovered as the aging, talentless hack that he really is.
But then, even if you accept that he's getting replaced and the main character, you've also had another character, supposed to be on the good side, and yet was basically evil.
Do you believe one of you would protect what matters most up here?
What matters most?
Elora Danan!
Her entire storyline throughout this series is, why does everyone pay attention to you rather than me? I want all of the attention.
He was calling to me. To me! And I could have got him. I could have brought him back.
Which is doubly stupid when the person she's complaining about is literally the only person in the entire world who can prevent the apocalypse.
And I could have finally understood why every time he chose you instead of me.
It's not about you. Oh, it's so annoying. Why does everyone pay attention to you? Just because you can save the Earth and I can't. But despite all of that, Willow is still my favourite show on this list. It's worm secretion. It'll taste really nice. Don't lick your lips, love. What was that? Because yes, it was bad, but unlike Velma, it was genuinely funny. Next up, if you're ever invited onto a dating show with your mum, don't go.
I don't think any of my sons realize that I have an extremely high libido. Hold on, is that too much?
Because that was the foundation of MILF Manor, and we were supposed to think that none of the contestants know. I mean, they were invited onto the same show by the same company in the same country at the same time and go there on the same flight, but they did not know they were going to be there together.
What's going on? That's my mom right there.
Alright, dude, you didn't need to sound so happy about it. And the showrunners were not subtle that they were hoping someone was going to keep it in the family.
In the real world, there is often a double standard.
In the real world, you'd get arrested for this.
Open your minds and have an experience you may have never imagined.
This show was everything degenerate combined into one.
Sorry, ladies. I might be sleeping with your son.
Someone get that down on a Valentine's Day card. I've never heard something so romantic. The first game that they had to play is who could recognize their son's body by touch alone.
Help me find my son if you want to hang out with me tonight.
It's actually rather scary how good some of them were at it.
You've never rubbed me up and down. I just hope she doesn't go below the waist whenever she's groping these guys.
But when the aim of the show is to walk around with a t-shirt on that just says, I banged your mum.
This feels like my child. Okay, I'm gonna say yes.
Yes, you got it right. This feels like my child. How do you know? You don't think there's that much lower you can get. Except there is.
My oldest daughter, but she passed away. It's not even been a year yet. I am doing this for Ashley in a lot of ways.
Yes, I'm coming on national television to bang a 20-year-old for my dead daughter. Like, what is going on?
I love older women that can keep up with me.
You may have just priced yourself out the market, mate, unless you're using a Zimmer frame. We had to guess your family member's deepest, darkest secret.
I landed on a grandma and she liked it.
I mean, when was that? Yesterday?
I got pink eye from ass.
How did I end up in this situation? I found out way too much about their personal preferences.
Paint her toenails maybe a color and like suck the acrylic off them toes.
But there was one man on a mission. It was essentially there's so many mums and so little time.
I'm not sure what kind of surprise she has for me.
The biggest landmarks in Mexico, which is a mushroom rock.
Okay, now you're just taking the piss. Although he had a problem.
I want to talk about things that are amazing about you.
Indulging her narcissism. You went out to conquer this new territory. No matter the age.
My alter ego is Disco Mommy. Do we need a shot? All these women look amazingly hot, but they're not me.
And he went armed with the most potent of weapons, both his accent and their desperation.
And I'm happy to share this with you.
I'm so happy to share this with you, yes. And what can I say? I mean, it worked.
And I adore your mom. I would love for her to be my mother-in-law one day.
When you see his chat-up lines, you won't know how. He can barely speak English.
How you shine wherever you go. How you stick to your gut, to yourself.
But it did work.
Jose, I want him to find a nice girl.
Have you ever considered setting a better standard yourself for him to live by? If anything else needs a season 2, it's this show, because it may be degenerate.
I make the most out of my elevator experience.
Yeah, but don't you think that's taking it a little bit far, love? But it was hilarious.
Went with my boyfriend to our friend's house and I woke up with his best friend.
That's even more layers than was written down on the card. Their only problem would be, after what they did in season 1, how on earth would they even top it? And she guesses he got pink eye.
It's a normal thing.
What? That's the only reaction that makes sense to that statement.
That just happens. Down, up, and down, back and forth.
We didn't need a diagram example of it, you filthy little... And then, of course, we had Robyn Hood. From this guy.
Think about your groin area, think about the bones, flesh, the skin, the organs and muscles.
The Canadian who thought, well, nobody cares about Robyn Hood anymore. And they probably don't. In Canada.
Fill up the condom jar if you need a re-up.
And if you notice, mate, other countries have different cultures and different priorities, especially when it comes to their own heritage.
Tell Nottingham what happens to a scum when they pick on small children.
None of that affected Director X, though. The guy who had a message for people who were reviewing his show.
You look goofy.
And you could understand why he took it personally. I mean, he had completely misunderstood the message of Robyn Hood. It wasn't, let's just nick everything.
We're unstoppable.
And maybe we shouldn't stop. We'll pick our fight and give what we steal to our people.
They were stealing from the tax collector. It was meant to be against the state, not against hard-working people who had earned what they have.
Jalapeno and pineapple on the same pizza?
You'll like it.
Hands up, kids. On your knees.
But in Robin Hood, the gang of degenerates, they would just steal from people who had earned things off the sweat of their own brow and spend it on themselves, on what really mattered to them.
Food, drinks, barbecue pits.
Bouncy castle?
In the following weeks, what you saw this gang of criminals do is descend into ever more severe crimes. They would kidnap people for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
What you say?
And try to avoid consequences for their actions by stealing medical supplies that only increased in cost because of them. And any consequences of their actions, any reason or responsibility that they may have, instead was just projected onto other people. Yes, the complete gang of layabouts were nothing short of evil, and yet they blamed John Prince for everything, despite the fact that he was just being persecuted by them week after week.
Why would I ever believe that you're for real?
Because the Hood kidnapped my son. Would like to talk.
We be committing international assassinations, stealing nuclear weapons, first-degree murder and kidnapping people.
All of this culminated in John Prince easily being the hero of the piece, to the point that when he said, look, I'm just going to kick you out your own houses, you're like, yeah, whatever, mate. They deserve it.
It's perfect.
It's occupied.
So is a dumpster if you count the rats.
Economy.
Not as if they go to work to pay rent in the first place.
You bring one more peasant into my penthouse, Chet, I will throw her off the balcony myself.
But he also gave us the best moment of 2023. Almost perfect television. But as you would expect in a show from Director X, the show also gave us the most bizarre moment of 2023. And as you've seen from previous shows, it was up against stiff competition. And in the case of Mom Manor, stiff in every sense of the word.
It's the pear of anguish. It was used on women who had relations with the devil.
But when the Hood gang got arrested and taken to a holding cell, well, nobody could have seen this coming. If you saw that coming, you're a liar. I mean, come on! I already felt like I was losing my mind, and then this happens. I might have had a psychotic break. We are going to get them be interrogated by a bunny rabbit that appears out of literally nowhere. Although, in the show's defense, they do come up with an excellent reason for it that I can't even argue with. You can tell a judge that a cop beat you up, you might get off.
Tell him a big pink rabbit did it, your ass stays in jail.
Yes, it is so insane, absolutely no one would believe you. Just like you wouldn't believe me if there wasn't footage of it. How am I supposed to take this seriously? Oh yeah, so then Robin Hood came along and she just got interrogated by a bunny rabbit.
Coders, come and try us, we the
Now, this show had all the same problems as everything else, where essentially the main character is just told she's amazing over and over again. They need a leader and it's you, and nobody knows why, because she fails at everything. She drags down the entire area with all of her decisions, and at one point, the one guy in the town is like, we should just hand in these gang of criminals. They're literally destroying our entire area, and one guy goes, no, we don't snitch. That's the only reason they have not to turn in the people who are ruining their lives. I dialed down the colour saturation to 0 and played piano music. That's why it's art. There's nothing more masculine than a man taking a selfie. No, what Robin Hood was, well, it was nothing like Robin Hood. It wasn't even just a modernised version of Robin Hood. It didn't bear any resemblance to the story at all. What it seemed like was more one person's vision of how the poors live.
You're gonna evict a quarter of the city?
Oh God, no, that would take ages. Accidents happen, barriers break, lakes flood.
Oh yeah, of course, they're all going to relate to this, because this is how everybody else lives, you know? They just go around committing rampant crime and then blaming it on other people.
You're pure evil.
And you're just another man taking credit for a woman's work.
That if only they could stand up against the man by taking what doesn't belong to them, then somehow we can sort it all out. It was very bizarre, which is no surprise why the show gave us the most bizarre clip of all time as well.
Put it down!
Why? Why? Absolutely no reason for it. Simply put in to say one weird message about how he sees them in the first place. Like that ever happens. Which is why it shouldn't really come as a surprise that this show was essentially funded by the Canadian government.
Your pop's still out of the country?
We could try yours.
And what greater use for taxpayer funds could there be than to make this quality of entertainment? Because there were parts of it that were entertaining, just for none of the reasons that it was intended. What was funny about Robin Hood is how on earth could anyone think that this is what television should be. But unfortunately, 2023 had so many disasters in it, there's just too many for one video, which means this is just a few of the highlights.
Have you lost your reptilian-ass mind?
So if you want a part 2, let me know down in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe, more videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.